Darlene Brown, and I'm going to talk to you today about the Interpersonal Communication Project from HSER 508 from Liberty University. Next slide. What I'm going to talk about is the introduction, which is what is communication, what is interpersonal communication, overarching, enlarging the conversation, background, your blend, noise pollution, what I plan to do for my action plan to stop all of this. Stewart says that when I define communication, it is complex, it's communal, and it's continuing. What that means is that as you're having a conversation, you keep going back and forth, you and your partner, or you and the other person that you're speaking with, and you're getting things solved by speaking to each other. Next slide. What I have now is the subset, which is nexting, culture, identity, and choices. What that is that you have a choice for your conversation. Next thing is that you find something else after the conversation has ended. You find something else to talk about in order to keep the conversation going. Your identity is when you identify with your partner who you are and why you want to have this conversation. Next slide. Enlarging the conversation means a direct quality with you and the quality of life, which keeps the conversation going and is good for you and the other person. Next slide. Enlarging my conversation involves identifying my communication needs. What that is what I need to keep my conversation going. But if I have any misunderstanding, I have to ask the person, what did they say, so I can get a clear understanding of what was said so I can make a response to it. Next slide. My overarching goals is I want to be an effective listener. That means that I want to make sure that I hear what the person is saying. I want to get a clear understanding of what they're saying. And I want to make sure that I hear exactly what they say. Next slide. More of my overarching goals is I need to learn how to speak in a crowd. I'm very timid, and a lot of times I have ideas and everything, but I won't say anything because I don't think any people want to listen to what I have to say. Next slide. My background in behavior blend is that I am a S. That is that I'm quiet, I'm knowledgeable, but I don't let people know that I'm knowledgeable. And my blend is a CIS, which is that I'm passionate, I love people, and I try to do what I can for people. Next slide. Another thing of my positive part of my behavior blend is that I'm insightful. When I do speak, I have the ability to speak, and I speak up and let everyone know what I have. I influence people by my inspiration, and also I can impress the crowd by the way that I speak, my mannerism. Next slide. My negative is what I say sometimes can be hurtful to a person, and I don't want to hurt people. Another thing of being negative is that I'm crippled by fear. A lot of times I don't like to step out in a crowd or even at home. I just like to be more of a laid back person. Next slide. My potential barriers is I hear what I want to hear. the clear conversation. I just hear what I want to hear, and I run with the conversation instead of getting the exact information just right. Next slide. My other thing is that I will not distort things. You know, one thing is sometimes I distort it. Not saying that I'm telling a lie, but it's that sometimes I just like to exaggerate, I would say, some. Next slide. In noise pollution. The internal noise pollution is thinking while someone else is speaking to me, daydreaming, not concentrating on what the person is saying. And the external noise, it would be people walking around and I'm looking at them instead of paying attention to the person I'm speaking to. Another noise, another noise pollution for internal is that I should not be fatigued when I'm trying to talk to someone, because sometimes when you're tired, you're half listening and you're saying to yourself, please, I wish the person would be quiet so I can go to sleep. So I have to learn how to not to be fatigued. Next slide. Another external pollution, noise pollution, is I have to stop watching the clock. When I'm speaking with someone, I have to be more concentrated, quit looking at the clock. I have to go to a quiet place, because any noise that I hear, I automatically look up or ask the person, what are you saying, instead of paying attention to the speaker themselves. Next slide. My plan of action is use the listener talker card by Peterson. Listen at level 1, like Burley Allen said. Do not to totalize, and do not criticize. Next slide. My action plan is to use the talker listener card. Using the talker listener card, it'll tell me who the speaker is, and not to really interrupt the person, and to know who has the problem, and not to really go into a great big long thing about it. Another thing for the Burley Adam, I want to be an effective listener. That means I want to be able to listen at level 1. I want to make sure that I hear everything that the person is saying. I want to have an open mind, and I want to just be willing to help in any way I can. Next slide. For steward, I do not want to be to totalize. I want to be able to look the person in their face and not judge them, not say, oh, they look like this way or they look like that way. I just want to be able to talk to the person, get their point of view, and we just go back and forth until we come to an understanding. And I do not want to judge them. Next slide. For my, I want to stop being critical and analyzing everything. A lot of times I like to, when someone is speaking to me, I like to analyze everything that they're saying. I would say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. I just want to take them at face value and let them know that I hear them and that I'm willing to cooperate and listen to them. Next slide. I want to thank you for listening to my interpersonal communication, and have a good evening.